U.S. presidential hopeful Michael Bloomberg is breaking the bank in the race for the White House. He spent more than $400 million on political ads since he launched his campaign 4 months ago. That's more than Donald Trump spent on his entire 2016 presidential bid. While the other Democratic contenders rely on donations from their supporters, Bloomberg is his own donor. He made fortunes as an investment banker and later as the owner of the financial software provider Bloomberg. And he's used this money and influence extensively in U.S. politics.
I got elected 3 times, twice running as Republican, once as an independent, and got support of enormous support from the Democratic establishment. This country needs somebody to pull the country together, put the United back in the United States of America is the way I phrase it. But most importantly, I'm the one that can beat Donald Trump.
While the spending spree has helped Bloomberg get a boost in opinion polls, it's also drawn criticism from other candidates.
So today we say to those billionaires who are spending hundreds of millions of dollars to support candidates who represent the rich and the powerful, today we say to Mayor Bloomberg, we are a democracy, not an oligarchy. You're not going to buy this election.
So far, Bloomberg hasn't gone toe-to-toe with other Democrats vying for the presidential nomination. Instead, he's been trying to win over minority and female voters. Bloomberg's also trying to drum up support for his plan to fix the U.S. economy. It would make financial institutions record all their transactions in a central database and would monitor their risk exposure more closely. He's proposing more flexible rules for U.S. startups to help them gain a better foothold in domestic and international markets, and wants to introduce regulations on taxes and cryptocurrencies. His supporters argue that Bloomberg, unlike the socialist frontrunner Bernie Sanders, can win over independent and Republican voters.
Bloomberg, to me, really feels that he's the one that can beat Trump. We've all seen what has been going on in this country. We know what has been going on in the White House, and we really need an alternative.
So far, Sanders is ahead in most opinion polls, but Bloomberg's popularity is rising. According to a recent national poll, his support has surged from just under 4% in December to 19%. And with more money to spend than any other candidate, the billionaire politician's chances could bloom before the final showdown for the Democratic ticket. Paolo Montecillo, TRT World.
Well, for more on this, Jeffrey Tucker joins us now live from Great Barrington in Massachusetts. He's the editorial director at the American Institute for Economic Research. Welcome back to the program, Jeffrey. Now, we know that money can't buy you everything, but it can buy you a lot of advertising. How direct is the link between what Michael Bloomberg has spent on advertising and his surge in the polls?
I think it's a little bit indirect, actually. And by the way, Oscar, this is tremendously exciting. This would have been unthinkable even a month ago. You know, American politics has just become chaotically unpredictable. But if you look at the ideological orientation of the main Democrats who are running right now, it's all they've entered into this strange bubble where a lot of these people aren't making any sense anymore. You know, banning fracking, banning private health care, regulating everything, taxing everything, spending trillions of dollars. Bloomberg comes along with a little more friendliness towards old style capitalism. Not so great on civil liberty as far as I'm concerned, but a little bit of a more of an old style Democrat. And he's making a lot of sense to people. And the big panic among the Democrats is they're frankly afraid they're going to lose the election with the current lineup. So Bloomberg is a little bit of a fresh face here. So I wrote an article a month ago saying, is it going to be the battle of the billionaires coming up? And that's looking a little more likely now than it was 30 days ago.
Now, we heard there from Bernie Sanders. He's described Mike Bloomberg as an oligarch. His campaign says he's just bought his way into this election. Do you think that message will resonate with those Democrats who are looking to elect their candidate?
Well, there's a grain of truth to this, of course. On the other hand, I mean, it's an easy response to that to say, look, I'm paying my own way here. That means that I'm not owned by anybody. The rest of you are owned by special interests who are paying for all your social media ads. I'm not owned by anybody. So it's the same response that Donald Trump gave to that line that he was buying his way into the election. So I don't think that's going to have much resonance. And keep in mind that the number one priority of the Democrats is to beat Trump. So at this point, I think that Bloomberg is no longer a long shot. He actually seems a little bit more viable. And the other thing that is that I think to some extent, Sanders, as an old style socialist, there's a cap on how many people are willing to go that far with the spending, with the socialist rhetoric, with the taxing everybody in sight kind of agenda he has, not to mention protectionism and mercantilism. On this, Sanders and Trump actually agree. But there's a cap on how many people want to support him, and the non-Sanders vote is divided among 3 or 4 other or 5 what they call moderates, who aren't actually, in fact, all that moderate. So the Democratic nomination is ready for disruption, and Bloomberg's a very smart cookie, and he saw this just a few months ago and decided to throw his hat in, and now he's making some waves. We're going to find out more tonight in the debates how he does in the main debates. But if he comes after the Democrats for their extremism and for their socialist rhetoric and for their desire to take away everybody's health care and stop fracking and all the rest of this stuff, he could really gain a lot of support tonight and over the coming weeks as we go up to the nomination. So it's going to be very interesting to watch.
And just very quickly, Jeffrey, do you think Mike Bloomberg's surge in the polls will force some of the candidates to perhaps move closer to the center?
Maybe, but the thing is that they've got a lot of track record of saying a lot of crazy extreme things. I think it's going to be difficult for them to back out of all the identitarian politics and all the stuff they've been preaching for the last year. So I think they've found themselves in a little bit of a pickle. And this election is it's ready to be disrupted, and I think Michael Bloomberg is the one who has the passion, the desire, and the resources to do it.
He sure does. Jeffrey Tucker from Massachusetts, thank you for your analysis as always.